Konnichiwa, and welcome to the Samurai Way, the podcast where we dive into the wisdom of the samurai, the art of Japanese living, and the philosophies that help us live with purpose and perseverance. I'm Lori Sagawa, and whether you're here to explore Bushido, uncover the meaning of Ikigai, or just looking for a little extra Ganbaru, never give up spirit in your daily life, you're in the right place. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's walk this path together. Are you ready? Let's begin. Konnichiwa, minasan. I'm Lori Sagawa, and welcome to the Samurai Way podcast. In this podcast, you will learn ancient Japanese principles for your life today. And today we have a special guest, and I'll just briefly introduce him. You'll love him. Brian Gregory is the CEO of ADMANITY, and he's the author of 15 books on marketing, advertising, and copywriting, and a global authority on how emotion-based marketing tactics instantly increase sales. And he created the free 5-minute yes test, when he'll be talking about that later. You can take that yes test also, which reveals exact motions that will drive new sales for your business. So at this time, please help me welcome Brian Gregory. Hello, Brian.
Hello, Lori. Thank you so much for having me on the Samurai Way today. I'm excited about all the things we're going to talk about, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, it is. It will be fun because we're going to speak about is Ganbaru. That's one of my favorite subjects because that is what helped me get through traumatic brain injury, and that's what will help people applying that is to never give up, have that tenacity. And so it does take, it's almost being like a pit bull. You don't give up. No excuses. You just go for it. So what I would like to ask Brian is, please tell us about how you first practice Ganbaru in your early life, even though you did not know about it in your training for the Olympics.
Yeah, thanks. It is knowing Ganbaru now, it's easy to look back and see how things happen. But at that point in my life, I'm in my teens, my early teens, and I had decided I was going to win an Olympic gold medal. Okay. Um, a lot of people make bold athletic predictions at that age. But I believed that I could do it. And there was a couple people around me who said you could do it. And I said, okay, that's all I need. And I took it very seriously, more seriously than other athletes in my age group. They would maybe train a little bit and then they'd go play. Or they would go train only during the time of the season of the sport. And then the rest of the time they'd go play different sports. I trained year round. I trained every single day because I figured that if I didn't train one day and some other guy did, then he just got better than me today because I was lazy. I decided I'd had enough training. There was plenty of reasons not to train, right? It's just, you know, after a while, it's hours and hours and hours. When you get better and better, it's more hours. It doesn't get less, it gets more. So pretty soon you're up to 7 hours a day when you get to the Olympic level, and you realize, wow, I'm glad I prepared for this, but it's a mental promise to yourself. I will not quit. I will not give in. I will not be lazy. I will not let anyone else beat me because I beat myself first. You go to a competition and you lose fairly, that's one thing. You were beaten today, but you didn't beat yourself, and next time it may be different because I'm going to train tomorrow, and the next day, and you don't quit. Like Winston Churchill said, never, ever, 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 ever quit. Because quitting is instant unsuccess.
Yes. You never give up. And that's the Ganbaru spirit. And that's what I shared with you earlier about the 100th, 442nd, and the MIS, Japanese American soldiers. That was their motto: go for broke, never give up. And they were relentless. I just shared with you, Brian, that over 9,000 medals, and they did not give up. So that's what the other part that we spoke about earlier was how your parents were not entrepreneurs, but some of their upbringing made you into who you are. And I'd love for you to share that with the audience.
Well, my parents were great. I was lucky. I had the good parents. I didn't have any of the stuff you hear about today. Both parents loved me to death, and but they weren't entrepreneurial in their work lives. They were raised in the era where you grow up, you get a good job, you put in your time, you get a gold watch, you get a retirement. That was their era, and they played their roles well. And they both always were gainfully employed, meaning I always had toys under the tree for Christmas, and I didn't suffer because they did. And they didn't quit their jobs. And they asked me one day, because I was doing a lot of entrepreneurial things, and they said, where do you get this entrepreneurial stuff? We never, you didn't get it from us, and I said, yeah, well, you never did entrepreneurial things per se, but you told me I could be anything I wanted to be, and you told me I could do it no matter what I was trying to do at the time, no matter how silly it was. They would always be the ones to say you could do it.
My
And
mom was kind of like that. She says, never give up. And if we wanted to give up, she goes, oh, what about this way? Let's do it this. And that's how they ran the farm. It's like, oh, there's some rose berries there that need to be picked before the rain destroys them or um, gets them so wet that they start molding. My mom would say, no, we can't do that. So I learned very early that you don't work, you don't eat. And that's a
yeah,
good way that that era of parents taught their kids is to never give up. And um, what happens when you give up? There's
yeah,
your lost dreams, and you never give
yeah.
up. You can always
Nothing happens.
rechannel that, which is fine. But it's learning those good work ethics and actually personality traits that, because life is not easy and it's not for the faint-hearted, I don't think. But if you just continue to plow and just go put your nose, like my mom and dad would say, don't quit. We can't quit now. And so we didn't. We learned very young and firsthand, you don't quit. And that's just something that they taught us too.
Yeah, I mean, they died early in their lives, unfortunately, disease. They left much too soon, but they gave me the skills. By the time they left, they'd given me the suit of armor that I would need, to get through life. It's so you can't say we never showed you how to do any of that. Well, yeah, you kind of did.
Mm-hmm.
You may not have called it that, but I'm here today as proof of the quality job that they did.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they were maybe a little Ganbaru too.
That's good.
They didn't quit because,
They sound like awesome people. You're very
yeah,
blessed to have them for
I was
parents.
very lucky, very lucky.
Mhm. And so now what you did is you took that experience of weight training and doing the shot put into your next venture in life. And that would be about your business. And so we all love to hear about how you got from point A to point B and the benefits of what you bring to the table.
I think if you watch the movie Forrest Gump,
Oh,
I think one of the lessons you might learn from that is he was never so smart that he knew he shouldn't do something. He went into everything he ever did as if there was only one outcome and that it would work out,
mm-hmm.
right? And he didn't have the prejudices that we all carry around with us past failures or bullying or whatever, you're carrying around. He didn't have that. And when I went into business, I just treated it like another training for sport. I said, okay, this is what the other people are going to do. I'm going to do twice as much. Because they're not doing well. I'm looking right at them. They're not doing. I ended up joining a multi-level marketing company. I'm not going to say the name. Um, and it was my first experience trying to sell something in my young life. And I think I'm 22 or something like that. And I was scared to death because I had never sold, especially speaking in front of a room, right? And this was my next business venture. And I became the number one person in that company within a year,
Wow.
and among tens of thousands of people who were all better at it than me in the beginning because they were older. Most of them were older, and they had more life experience, and I was just a kid. But I got up there and I figured it out, and I never quit, and I ended up doing really, really well, and that led to other business offers, and
Hmm.
you get a little notoriety. All of a sudden, everybody wants you in their deal, and I was lucky. I started off with a win early in life, and but again, if I look back on what every single day, waking up to, I could just do nothing. There's nobody watching. I'm at home, right? I mean, I'm not in some corporate office. This is multi-level marketing,
Hmm.
right? I mean, everybody, there's no internet. There's no cell phones. I mean, this is just you. And you got to go out there and shake hands. You got to go meet people. So anyway, I went out and did again what it was grinding and grinding to get the job done. And then it got easier. And then more people learned from me and the thing grew. And I just, after a while, I didn't have to do very much. And I was going to college making more money than my college professors, which really made me question college. At the time I was thinking about, I'm glad mom and dad aren't paying for this because I had a scholarship. But, you know, it just opens your eyes that there's so many ways to make money in this world, so many ways to be a success. And I have a favorite phrase: you can't do right every day and end up wrong.
Mm. Boy, that's a quote you ought to put on social media.
I should
That's
put that
great.
out there somewhere. You can't do right every day and end up wrong. You can get punched in the nose, but you can't end up wrong. You just got to have faith that it's going to go out sooner or later. You're
Hmm.
going to be fine. And that led
Yeah.
to the businesses that, of course, that I'm working on now, and much larger goals. And but again, hard work, embrace it. I think it's the only way anybody ever gets to the top. Everybody that's rich and famous they have stories of how they hit bottom, and the horrible times you don't hear about. They all have that story.
Hmm.
They all have one of those. And you realize, overnight success took them 20 years and they worked hard for it and they got it. Maybe they deserve it. Maybe they're rich and it's too smug for your liking. But almost every one of them has one of those horrible stories where they had nothing. So,
Right. They'd have to.
mhm,
Most people are not born with a silver spoon,
right.
but it's how do you get how do you get better if you haven't, like when you're a kid, baby, you learn how to walk not by getting up one day and say I'm going to start running. You don't do that. You start sitting up and then you pull yourself up and then you go around the table holding on to that and then you learn how to walk, but you don't learn how to walk purpose per perfect the first time. It takes practice and it just lots of falls, and you don't say, oh, you might as well give up. You say, oh, come on, you can do it, and just continue to encourage them until they are on their own. And one thing we did speak about it was how you brought emotion and how you're tackling that in conjunction with AI. If you could share about that, I think it'd be very helpful for our audience.
I was at one point a magazine publisher, and people give you the ads to run into the magazine, and it's your job to, get them out there. Magazine is really about distribution more than anything else. And so the job was to take the ad and get it all over town, and hopefully somebody called the business up and when the ads didn't work, which was most of the time,
Mm.
they would call up and cancel. And I'd say, "Why are you canceling?" "Well, the ad didn't work. Your magazine sucks, Brian. And so, I won't be giving you any more of my money." And I'm looking at the ad, and I want to say, "Have you seen this thing you're running?" I mean, really, this ad is a crime scene of advertising, but it wasn't my job to tell you that. My job was to distribute it all over town. And I realized that it wasn't their fault. They didn't know any better. No one had ever shown them how to do a great ad. No one had ever shown them how to use human emotion to sell their thing, whatever it is. People buy on emotion every single time. They justify on logic every single time. You cannot change that. That is a law. Let's just call it a law. It's the way the human brain prefers to function. So we buy on emotion, yet nobody is told how to sell on emotion. They don't teach it just in schools. I don't care if you major in advertising, they won't teach you that. And I decided that when I was just tired of people, wasting money, especially blaming me for it, that I would create an algorithm that would help any small business anywhere, no matter where they were, no matter what product they sold, no matter how much money they were making. And they would show them the very best strategy to sell whatever that thing is to those people over there so that they would have essentially the advice of a high quality agency without having to pay for a high quality agency. Nothing against agencies. They've created the best ads on earth. But only 1% of the business population can afford that kind of help. So the rest of us do our best, swing and a miss, swing and a miss, and we just keep throwing ourselves at the light like a moth, hoping for a better result because we really don't have a plan on what the right move is. So the algorithm that took years to develop is we're branding it Primal AI because it's the primal human emotions
Mm.
that drive us to buy. You may not think about it because it happens in a second. You grab something on the shelf, you throw it in the cart. You don't think of which emotions you just used to do that. What caused that transaction to happen? You don't think like that. That's subconscious. Yeah, but you go home and you tell your spouse, "Hey, look, I know we just bought some staples, but you can never have too many. So I got us another box of staples." And your spouse is saying, "Why did you buy, you idiot? We don't need two boxes of staples, right?" Whatever it is. "Well, because I bought it emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really have a choice. Humans react to emotion. Emotion hits you and you react to it. You don't sit around and think it over. And if you could isolate the emotions for your own business, then you can isolate the ones your customers are going to like. And once your customers like that emotion, they're liking that product. And when they're liking that product, they're buying that product. And that's how it works. And the algorithm took years to build. It's done. It works beautifully. You can take the yes test free. We give it away free. 5 minutes. It will tell you all about your own business and give you some tips and things to do and don't. It'd be the best 5 minutes you'll ever spend in your business. I'll guarantee you that. And it's free.
And
Um,
that will be in the description when your episode is aired, and that will be in January. And people will be so excited because a lot of people may not have heard of this. I know people in M3 have heard of it because you're there almost every week, but
yeah.
uh, a lot of people have not, and they could really benefit from this. This is so exciting. Well, Brian, you have given us so much information and really want to thank you. And you've educated me. And I love hearing stories about Ganbaru and people that never give up. I have a couple of stories on my blog and about a woman who lost her arm and couldn't play the violin anymore, but her mother encouraged her to do it, and they got a prosthesis for her. So now she plays the violin. Fortunately, it's the right one, because the left hand is more important when playing the violin or string instrument, especially that
Yeah,
one.
you got to
So
be able
there's
to.
so many stories. And you know what? The other thing exciting, Brian, is I'm going to be writing next year, 2026, my book about Ganbaru, because that is what got me going from a seventh grade reading level to writing a book and be published by a international publisher. So giving up does work, and it was hard. I would cry and not want to give up, but it's like I couldn't. That's I could hear my mom and dad. We don't give up, and that's probably what you heard from glean from your mom and dad. You don't give up. You just keep going, and it pays off. It pays
It
off. And
pays
even
off.
though you didn't win the Olympic medal, look what else you did. You took those same strategies and took it into your own life and your own business. So I commend you for that. So so much we learned from you about how you started out with, what you learned by being training to become a shot put. What do you call it? Shot put thrower in the
Shot
Olympics.
putter.
A shot putter, yes. Like I'm a podcaster. Go from being a shot putter and taking that information or those training and putting it into your own life, your own business, and it's made you, very, very much a Ganbaru, and we'll call you the sumo samurai. That's what
That's
we
it.
came
Now you're
up with.
talking.
And I say people can become a samurai. It's the spirit, because the samurai are no longer in existence today. That ended in the 1800s. But that spirit lives on in people, and in people that are Japanese and people that are not Japanese. It's that spirit of never giving up. And so I hope that all of you have gleaned that, to never give up. Think about it, maybe in your relationship, maybe it's a health goal or whatever. Do not give up. And also, Brian, is there something that you would like to share with the audience before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I want to first of all thank you for reminding me of the Ganbaru, and because even in the algorithms that we created, there was dozens and dozens of failures. I mean, it was literally there was a point where should we even keep trying because we seem to have mastered how to fail. But there was something in me that just said no.
Yeah.
Let's finish the job we started out to do,
Mhm.
and eventually we got it. And you know, it's I'm honored to be on a show that honors so many good people and is rooted in the tradition of honor, the samurai way. And it's been absolutely wonderful to be a guest. I'll come back anytime. Um, uh, Thank you for, just giving me a moment in within your light uh, to tell my little story. And it's a great show. And if folks, if you're listening to this for the first time, bookmark this and star it, whatever you got to do, so that you can hear every episode. Because I'm sure she's going to find the most amazing people walking the
Like
earth.
you.
Well, I'll take a small thank you for that, but I'll bet you find some people who've done some even way cooler things. So um, tune in, folks, and you'll be glad you did.
Well, thanks for reminding people. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and leave a review. That would really help us. We are so excited about being able to share the concepts of the samurai and glean from their lives and what they did. And really, they helped shape the nation of Japan. And I believe that's why Japan is a safe, clean country, and you won't see litter around. You won't see people doing graffiti, because they learned in childhood that when they are the janitors for their own school. They start marking up, they start cleaning up. That's how it goes in Japan. So picking something that I did not appreciate being Japanese, but then when I started delving into the history and learning about the samurai, I I dearly love Japan, and I go there as often as I can. I want to encourage
Yeah.
you, if it's not on your bucket list, be sure to make Japan uh, on your bucket list. It's a wonderful place to be. You feel safe, never tipping for being in a restaurant, and right now the dollar is very strong, so it's a great time to go. So that's my little infomercial. I just love Japan. I love sharing about it and sharing about the samurai way. So thank you, Brian, so much for being a guest and encouraging people. And be sure to look in the comments. You'll see how to take that yes test. I love that name, yes test. It's not a no test. It's about yes, and then only positive things will come out of a 5-minute test. So that's it for today. It's a wrap. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and listen and adhere to the samurai way. Mata ne. Bye-bye. Thank you. And that's a wrap for today's episode, The Samurai Way. I hope you found a little inspiration, a new perspective, or just something to reflect upon as you go about your day. Now remember, the samurai spirit isn't just about history. It's about how you show up, face challenges, and live with purpose. Whether it's Ikigai guiding your path or a little extra Ganbaru pushing you forward, keep walking strong. So if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, share, or leave a review. It really helps. And if you've got some thoughts, questions, or you just want to connect, just contact me. So until next time, stay focused, stay determined, and keep living with purpose. Mata ne.